And with this guy, Gary Johnson, you remember him, ran for president, two-term governor, was way ahead, for example, on many issues, but on the marijuana issue. A lot of people joked about it, but he was talking about it's a basic right. Now voters in Oregon, Alaska, Washington, D.C., approving such initiatives. When all is said and done, we could be looking at a dozen states that allow it for medicinal purposes. To the former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, ran for president, might yet again. On this issue, like many, you were ahead of the curve.
Well, I think running as a third-party candidate, I liken the debates right now, Coke and Pepsi, Democrats and Republicans. You know, they talk about the economy, they talk about corporate taxes. Coke says, let's drop it to 30% from 33%. Pepsi says, let's drop it to 28%. Well, how about the liberty? Well, let's eliminate corporate tax. Let's eliminate the income tax. Let's abolish the IRS. And if we have to replace it with something, let's replace it with a national consumption tax. And free market economists, I think, would get on board and say that's really the logical way to do it. Tens of millions of jobs get created.
Are you smoking pot right now as you say this?
I'm going to stop after this show. Because
no, but, I mean, that's the kind of stuff people, if they step back and hear the wisdom of that, explain why that is not crazy talk.
It is not crazy. I mean, all the talk about jobs, why would a business locate a company anywhere in the world but the United States, given a zero corporate tax rate?
How would the government get its money?
Well, in this case, like I say, replace it with a consumption tax. For those watching, you know,
wouldn't that put a chill on spending?
No, well, actually,
I guess if you remove the income tax.
Well, the theory is that it would be revenue neutral because you have embedded taxes, embedded federal taxes in everything that you buy. So if you take a can of Coke as an example, can of Coke that sells for $1, arguably you have 28% embedded federal tax in that can of Coke. So
yeah, very pricey can of Coke.
Well, when you consider Social Security match, when you consider Medicaid, Medicare,
understood,
and then the taxes that Coca-Cola pays to the federal government.
No, you make good points, as you did during your last presidential run. I told you that it's always a tough road for a guy like you, for independently minded people. Are you considering again? Because you sort of get to be like Rodney Dangerfield, no respect.
Right.
But we do know the temperament in the country certainly changed yesterday.
Well, I'd like to, and the only way that a third party wins is to be a part of the presidential debates. We are suing the Presidential Debate Commission, the notion being that if you're on the ballot in enough states to mathematically be elected president of the United States, shouldn't you be included in the debates? And at a minimum, how about the notion of being in the polls that determines who's in the debates? Whether or not that's me or someone else running, look, it would be great to have another perspective out there, and that would stimulate debate and discussion all across the country. You know, I hope to. I hope to, Neil.
Well, I always say the more the merrier, and the more the debate, intense the debate, the better. And he's a smart guy. He's a very smart guy. Governor Gary Johnson, very good seeing him.
Great seeing you, Neil. Thank you.
When we come back.